"Can I have the cans to feed my sister?" the homeless girl asked the millionaire. Richard Walker was chewing his filet mignon with wine sauce when he felt a light touch on his arm. For 3 weeks, since he had started eating alone at that restaurant in Chelsea, no one had disturbed him during his solitary meals. When he turned, he faced a girl no older than 8, holding a softly crying baby in her arms. The older child's eyes were large and determined, contrasting with her dirty clothes and unkempt hair. "Can I have the cans to feed my sister?" she asked, pointing to the empty soda can beside Richard's plate. The businessman looked around, embarrassed. The other restaurant patrons were beginning to watch the scene. He made a discreet gesture with his hand, trying to dismiss the girl. "I don't have any money," he lied automatically, turning his attention back to his plate. "I'm not asking for money," the girl replied with a calmness that surprised him. "I just want the cans. My sister hasn't eaten in 2 days." Richard stopped chewing. There was something in the child's voice that unsettled him deeply. It wasn't the whiny or desperate tone he expected from a street kid. It was firm, almost adult. "Listen, kid," he began but was interrupted. "My name is Emily, and this is Lily," she said, adjusting the baby in her arms. "She's hungry. I know a junkyard that trades cans for powdered milk." The businessman finally looked directly at the baby. That's when he noticed something that made his heart race. On the child's tiny wrist was a blue hospital bracelet, identical to the one his own daughter had worn years ago. His daughter Grace had also been born premature. She had also worn that same blue bracelet from St. Louis Hospital. She had also... Richard shook his head, pushing away the painful memories. He grabbed his wallet and pulled out a $50 bill. "Here, buy food for both of you." Emily looked at the money, then at him, and to his surprise she stepped back. "Thank you, but I don't want money. I just need the cans." "Why don't you want the money?" Richard asked, genuinely puzzled. "Because money runs out. But if I know how to get food on my own, I can do it any time," Emily replied, as if it were the most obvious thing in the world. Richard was silent for a few seconds. That answer held a wisdom he hadn't expected from such a young child. "Where do you live?" he asked, putting the money away. "Under the Midtown overpass. There are some old mattresses someone threw out. We make do." "And your parents?" Emily's face closed off slightly. "My mom left for work 3 weeks ago. Said she'd be back, left a note, she hasn't come back yet." Richard pushed his empty soda can toward the girl. "You can take it." Emily smiled for the first time. It was a small smile, but genuine. "Thank you." "Really?" She turned to leave, but Richard called out, "Emily, wait, where's that junkyard?" "On 5th Avenue, near the market. Why?" "Just curious," he lied. After the girl left, Richard couldn't focus on his food anymore. He paid the bill quickly and left the restaurant. He didn't quite know why, but he needed to see where that child really lived. He discreetly followed Emily through the streets of Chelsea. The girl walked quickly, but took care not to jostle her little sister too much. She stopped occasionally to check on the baby, whispering softly to her like an experienced mother. When they reached the Midtown overpass, Richard felt a tightness in his chest. Beneath the concrete structure, there were indeed a few old mattresses arranged like a makeshift home. But it wasn't just Emily and Lily who lived there. 3 other children ran to meet them. 2 girls, apparently 5 and 6 years old, and a boy who couldn't have been more than 4. They were all dirty with torn clothes, but their faces lit up when they saw Emily approaching. "Emily, did you get food?" asked the older girl. "I got a can. I'll trade it for milk for Lily. Did you eat?" "We found some fruit in the market trash," replied the boy, "but Madison has a stomachache." Richard watched everything from behind a pillar. Emily carefully placed Lily on one of the mattresses and went to the girl curled up in a corner. "Madison, let me see," she said, placing her hand on the child's forehead. "You have a fever. I'll get some medicine." "With what money?" asked the other girl. "I'll figure it out," replied Emily with her usual determination. Richard couldn't take it anymore. He stepped out from behind the pillar and approached the group. The children startled and huddled behind Emily, who stood in front of them like a protective shield. "Who are you? What do you want?" she asked suspiciously. "I'm Richard, from the restaurant. I came to see if you were okay." "We're fine," Emily answered quickly. "We don't need anything." "But the girl is sick," Richard insisted. I'll take care of her. I take care of all of them. You're 8 years old, Emily. You shouldn't have to take care of anyone. Emily's eyes filled with tears, but she held them back. There's no one else. If I don't take care of them, who will? Richard knelt to be at the children's level. How did you all meet? It was the 6-year-old girl, who he later learned was named Olivia, who answered, My dad brought me here and said he'd come back. That was last month. Emily found me crying and said I could stay with her. And you? Richard asked the boy. My grandma got really sick. The neighbors brought me here because they didn't know what to do with me, replied the boy, whose name was Ethan. And Madison? She ran away because her stepfather hit her, explained Emily. I found her hurt on the street. Richard's chest tightened. These were all abandoned children one way or another, and Emily had become their mother. Emily, you can't keep living like this. We manage. We're not criminals. We don't beg. I work. Work how? I collect cans, help carry bags at the market, clean car windows when there's no cop around. I always find a way. Richard took out his wallet again. Let me help you, at least to buy medicine for the girl. I already said I don't want money, Emily repeated. Why not? Because money makes us dependent. If I always take money from others, I'll forget how to get things on my own. And what if one day there's no one to give me money? Richard was struck by the maturity of that answer. This 8-year-old girl understood independence and dignity better than many adults. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now continuing, what if it wasn't money? Asked Richard. What if it was work? Emily's eyes sparkled with interest. What kind of work? I have a company. I always need someone to organize papers, clean the office. I know how to clean, Emily said quickly. I always kept our place clean when my mom was still home. Then we have a deal. You clean my office and I'll pay you with food and medicine for all of you. Emily thought for a few seconds, looking at the other children. And can they come too? To the office? I won't leave them alone. We stay together always. Richard sighed. He had no idea how he'd explain to his employees the presence of 5 street kids in his office, but something inside him wouldn't let him say no. All right, but you'll have to take a shower first. Where? We'll figure something out. Richard took them to a nearby hotel. He asked for 2 rooms to be prepared and clean clothes to be arranged for the children. The manager gave him a strange look but didn't question it. While the children washed up, Richard found himself thinking about what he was doing. It had been 3 years since he'd avoided any contact with children. After losing Grace and Catherine in an accident, he'd sworn never to put himself in a situation that could bring him pain again. But there was something about Emily that touched him deeply. Maybe it was her strength, her determination to protect the other kids. Or maybe it was the fact that, looking at her, he could imagine what Grace might have been like if she'd had the chance to grow up. When the children stepped out of their rooms, clean and in fresh clothes, Richard barely recognized them. Emily looked beautiful in a simple blue dress. Lily, finally clean, revealed blonde hair and light eyes just like Grace's. Now we're ready, Richard said. Let's go to the scrapyard to trade the cans for milk for Lily, and then you can see my office. The scrapyard was on a busy street in Chelsea. The owner, Mr. E. Frank, was a man in his 60s with a graying mustache and calloused hands. Hi, Emily, he greeted when he saw them approaching. You brought a big group today. Hi, Mr. Frank. I only brought 1 can today, but it's to trade for milk for Lily. Of course, sweetheart, you know there's always milk here for you. Richard watched the exchange with interest. How long have you known Emily? He asked Mr. Frank. About 2 weeks since she showed up. Always polite, always honest. Never tries to trick me about the weight of the cans or anything. She's a special girl. What do you mean, special? Well, I've seen a lot of street kids in my time. Most lose their manners real quick. Turn a little wild, you know. But not Emily. She always says thank you, always makes sure not to make a mess in the shop. And the way she takes care of that baby. She's like a real mother. Richard felt that familiar tightness in his chest again. Mr. Frank, can I ask you something? Can? If someone wanted to hire Emily for some work, do you think she'd accept? Depends on the job. She's proud, you know. Won't take handouts. But if it's honest work, something she can do with dignity, then yeah, I think so. What about the other kids? Oh, the others came later. Emily's the one who gathered them. It's like she became everyone's mother. Leaving the scrapyard, Richard took the group to his office in Midtown Manhattan. It was a modern building, over 20 stories tall. His company occupied the top 3 floors. In the elevator, the kids were amazed by the height. "Do you live up here?" Ethan asked. "No, I work here. My home is somewhere else." "Must be a big house," Olivia remarked. "It is," Richard replied, leaving it at that. The office was spacious and modern, with large windows overlooking the city. Richard's employees greeted him, but couldn't hide their surprise at seeing the children. "For everyone, these are my new cleaning assistants," Richard improvised. "Emily, Olivia, Madison, Ethan, and little Lily." His secretary, Mrs. Dorothy, a woman in her early 50s, approached with curiosity. "What beautiful children," she said. "But aren't they a little young to be working?" "It's temporary," Richard explained. "Just while we sort some things out." Mrs. Dorothy had worked for Richard for over 10 years. She knew him well, knew that beneath his cool exterior he had a good heart. She also knew about the tragedy he'd endured. "Is there anything I can do to help?" she asked quietly. "Not right now, but thank you." Richard showed the children around the office. Emily paid attention to everything, as if she were memorizing every detail. "Is this desk yours?" she asked, pointing to Richard's desk. "Yes." "That's a big computer. What do you do for work?" "I own a construction company. I build buildings, houses, commercial spaces." "Cool. Do you build houses for people who don't have a place to live?" The question caught Richard off guard. "Sometimes," he answered without much conviction. "It'd be good if you built more houses like that. A lot of people need them." Richard looked at Emily. At 8 years old, she already understood social issues he, at 42, preferred to ignore. "Emily, do you want to start working now?" "I can start." "All right. I'll show you where the cleaning supplies are." As Richard explained the tasks to Emily, the other children spread out around the office. Ethan was fascinated by the computers. Olivia played with Lily on the reception sofa, and Madison, still recovering from a fever, rested in an armchair. Emily worked with impressive focus for a child her age. She cleaned every surface carefully, organized papers without making a mess, and emptied the trash without a sound. "Have you worked before?" Richard asked. "At home, I always helped my mum. She worked a lot and came home tired. I took care of the house so she could rest." "What did your mum do?" Emily's face grew sad. "She worked at a big company in finance. She made good money. We had a small but nice house in Queens. She was really smart with numbers." "What happened?" "Her company laid off a lot of people at once. She said it was because of the crisis. She was unemployed for months. We lost our house and had to move in with my aunt. But my aunt was struggling too and couldn't support us." Emily stopped cleaning for a moment. "My mum tried so hard to find another job. She went to interview after interview, but nothing worked out. She started getting sad, really sad. She stopped eating, cried in secret, thought it was her fault. And then? Then Lily was born. My mum got even sadder because she didn't have money to take care of a baby properly. She started saying we'd be better off without her." Richard stopped watching Emily's work and focused entirely on the conversation. "What did you do when she got like that?" "I told her everything would be okay, that we'd figure it out, but she didn't believe it anymore. Then one day she wrote a note saying she'd fix things and come back soon. That was 3 weeks ago." "Do you know where she might have gone?" "No. I checked the hospital, my aunt's house, the places she used to go. No one's seen her." Richard felt a lump in his throat. Emily's story was more complicated than he'd imagined. "And you decided to take care of Lily by yourself?" "Someone had to. She's my sister." "But you're a kid, Emily." "Doesn't matter. When you love someone, you do what you have to do." Richard was silent for a few minutes. Those words echoed in his mind. When you love someone, you do what you have to do. He'd stopped doing that 3 years ago. He'd stopped loving, stopped caring, stopped trying. "Emily," he finally said, "would you like me to help you look for your mum?" Emily's eyes filled with hope, filled with, "You'd do that?" I can try. But why? You don't even really know me. Richard looked out the office window, watching the city stretch to the horizon. Because 3 years ago, I stopped helping people, and maybe it's time to start again. That night, Richard took all the children to dinner at a simple but cozy restaurant. They ate as if they hadn't seen food in days, which was probably true. Emily, Richard said as he cut the meat for Ethan, tomorrow I'll start making some calls. Try to find out where your mother might be, but in the meantime you need a safe place to stay. We can go back to the overpass, Emily replied. I don't want you going back there. It's dangerous, especially with Lily being so little. Then where are we supposed to stay? Richard had been thinking about this all afternoon. There's a small apartment near my office. I can rent it for you temporarily. I don't have money for rent. You'll pay by working. Office cleaning, organizing documents, some simple tasks. Emily thought for a few seconds. What if you can't find my mom? What if she never comes back? We'll cross that bridge when we get there. No, Emily insisted. I need to know now. If my mom doesn't come back, will you send us away? Richard looked at the serious face of this 8-year-old girl. She was asking for a promise he wasn't sure he could keep. Emily, I won't abandon you. I promise. Even if it takes a long time to find her. Even if it takes a long time. Even if she doesn't want to come back? That question caught Richard off guard. He hadn't considered the possibility that Emily's mother had left her daughters intentionally. Why do you think she might not want to come back? Because she was really sad. Sometimes when people get too sad, they think everyone's better off without them. Richard swallowed hard. He knew that feeling all too well. If that's the case, then we'll show her she was wrong. That you need her. And if she still doesn't want to come back, then we'll take care of you just the same. Emily smiled. It was the second genuine smile Richard had seen on her face. Thank you, she said simply. The next day, Richard began his search for Emily's mother. First, he went to the company where she had worked. After some persistence, he managed to speak with her former boss. Jennifer Wilson, said the man, a middle-aged fellow with thick glasses. Of course I remember her. She was an exemplary employee. A shame we had to let her go. Why was she fired? Budget cuts. We had to downsize the finance department by half. She was one of the last to go, precisely because she was so competent. How did she take the news? She was really shaken. Said she had 2 little girls to support. I tried to help by referring her to other companies, but times were tough for everyone back then. Do you have any idea where she might be now? No. After she left here, I never heard from her again. Why are you looking for her? Richard explained the situation, omitting some of the more delicate details. My God, that's awful, said Jennifer's former boss. I had a daughter the same age as Jennifer's oldest. I can't imagine. If you hear anything, will you call me? Richard left his card. Of course. And listen, if she shows up and needs a job reference, she can count on me. She's really good at what she does. Richard's next stop was the home of the aunt Emily had mentioned. It was a small house in a modest neighborhood on the south side. The woman who answered looked to be in her 40s and seemed to be struggling financially. You're looking for Jennifer? She asked, suspicious. Who are you? Richard explained the situation again. Oh my God, the woman said, covering her face with her hands. I was afraid this would happen. Why? Jennifer was in a really bad place mentally. After she lost her job, she changed completely. She was always such a strong, determined person, but she became insecure, depressed. When was the last time you saw her? Over a month ago. She showed up here one night crying, saying she couldn't take care of the girls anymore, said they deserved a better mother. What did you say to her? That she was talking nonsense, that she was a wonderful mother, but she didn't want to listen. She said she was going to fix everything. Fix it how? I don't know, she didn't want to say. She left in the middle of the night and never came back. Jennifer's aunt invited Richard in and offered him coffee. How are the girls doing? She asked. Emily is taking very good care of Lily, but it's too much responsibility for a child. Emily has always been mature for her age. Since she was little, she helped Jennifer with everything. When Lily was born, She seemed more like a second mother than a sister. Why didn't you take them in when their mother disappeared? The woman sighed. I wanted to, but I'm struggling too. My husband lost his job, and I have 3 kids to raise. I couldn't take care of 2 more children. Richard understood. It wasn't for lack of love, but because it was impossible. If Jennifer shows up, can you call me? He left his card. I can. But can I ask you something? Why are you doing this? What's your interest in these girls? Richard took a moment to answer. I think they reminded me of things I'd forgotten. What kind of things? How important it is to take care of the people we love. Back at the office, Richard walked into a scene that surprised him. Emily was teaching Ethan to read, using some old documents as teaching material. Olivia was playing with Lily, making funny faces to make the baby smile. Madison was drawing on a piece of paper. How was your day? Richard asked. We helped Mrs. Dorothy organize some files, Emily replied. And Ethan learned to write his name. Is that true, Ethan? The boy proudly showed a sheet where he had written Ethan in crooked but legible letters. Emily is a good teacher, he said. Richard looked at Emily with admiration. She wasn't just taking care of the other kids physically, but also making sure they learned. Emily, would you like to go to school? I really loved going to school, she answered wistfully. But when my mum lost her job, I had to stop to help take care of Lily. What if I told you it's possible for you to go back to school? Emily's eyes lit up. How? There are schools that take kids in special situations. I can talk to them. But what about the others? I can't leave them alone. We'll figure out a way for everyone to go to school. That night, in the apartment Richard had rented for them, Emily put Lily to sleep while softly singing a lullaby. Emily, Richard said, sitting beside her on the small couch. Can I tell you something? Sure. I used to have a daughter too. Emily looked at him with interest. How old is she? She's not with me anymore. Oh, Emily said, understanding without Richard needing to explain further. That's why you recognized Lily's bracelet. Yeah, my daughter was born premature too. She wore the same kind of bracelet. What was she like? Richard smiled sadly. She had your eyes. Determined, smart. I think she would have been like you if she'd had the chance to grow up. Emily was quiet for a moment. Is that why you want to help us? Maybe? Or maybe it's because you've helped me too. How? For 3 years, I stopped caring about people. I stopped trying to make a difference in the world. You reminded me why it matters. My mum always said we have to help others, even when we need help ourselves. Your mum is a wise woman. Was, Emily corrected, before she got too sad. She still is. Sadness doesn't erase wisdom. It just hides it for a while. Emily looked at Richard thoughtfully. Do you think we'll find her? I think so. What if she doesn't want to come back? Then let's show her all the reasons why she should want to come back. The next morning, Richard received a call that would change everything. Hello, is this Richard Walker? Yes. This is St. Benedict Psychiatric Clinic. You left your contact saying you were looking for a woman named Jennifer Wilson. Richard's heart raced. Yes. Did you find her? Actually, she's been admitted here for 2 weeks. Richard felt a mix of relief and worry. How is she? Stable, but still in treatment. She was admitted with severe depression, with tendencies. Well, she was in a very fragile state. Can I see her? Are you a relative? No, but I'm taking care of her daughters. Oh yes. She talks about her daughters a lot. Let me transfer you to the doctor in charge. A few minutes later, Richard was speaking with Dr. Robert, Jennifer's psychiatrist. Jennifer's situation is complex, the doctor explained. She's suffering from severe depression, worsened by a difficult socioeconomic situation and social isolation. How did she end up here? She was found by a social services team in a state of mental confusion. She'd been wandering the streets for days without eating properly. Can she have visitors? Yes, but supervised. And you need to be prepared. She's still very psychologically fragile. Richard scheduled the visit for that same afternoon. He didn't know how he'd tell Emily he'd found her mother or how the girl would react. When he got to the apartment, he found Emily giving Lily a bath with Olivia's help. The two worked together as if they'd been sisters for years. "Emily, I need to talk to you," Richard said. "Did something happen? I found your mother." Emily dropped the towel she was holding. Lily started crying. "Where is she?" "In a hospital. She's sick." "Sick how?" Richard chose his words carefully. "She's very sad. So sad that the doctors needed to take care of her to help her get better. Can I see her?" "I can take you there this afternoon. But you need to be ready. Your mother isn't the same as you remember." "It doesn't matter," Emily said, picking up Lily. "She's my mother." Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now, continuing. St. Benedict Psychiatric Clinic was a clean white building, but it carried an air of sadness. Richard held Emily's hand as they walked down the halls. "Are you sure you want to do this?" he asked. "I am," Emily replied, but Richard noticed her hand was trembling. Dr. Robert greeted them in his office. "You must be Emily," he said with a gentle smile. "Your mother talks about you a lot. How is she?" "Better than when she arrived, but still needs care. She feels a lot of fear and guilt for leaving you and your sister, but she didn't leave us. She just got lost." Dr. Robert looked at Richard with admiration. The wisdom of that child was remarkable. "That's exactly what we need her to understand," the doctor said. "That she didn't abandon you, that she just needed help. Can I tell her that?" "You can, but remember she'll be very emotional. She might cry, she might feel ashamed." "It's okay. I don't mind." Jennifer Wilson was sitting in a chair by the window of her room, looking out at the clinic's garden. When she saw Emily walk in, she immediately began to cry. "My baby," she said weakly. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." Emily ran to her and hugged her tightly. "You don't have to apologize, Mum. You got sick. Now you're going to get better. I left you. I'm a terrible mother. You didn't leave us. You went out to try and fix things. I understand." Jennifer looked at her daughter through her tears. "How did you get so big? It's like you grew years in just a few weeks." "I had to grow up a little to take care of Lily, but she's okay. She's beautiful, Mom." "And where are you living now?" "With him," Emily pointed to Richard. "He's taking care of us while you get better." Jennifer looked at Richard for the first time. "Who are you?" "My name is Richard. I met Emily when she needed help." "Why are you doing this?" "Because your daughter taught me important things." Jennifer looked back at Emily. "What did you teach him?" "That when we love someone, we do what needs to be done," Emily answered, repeating her own words. Jennifer began to cry harder. "I tried, Emily. I tried so hard, but I just couldn't anymore. I lost my job, couldn't pay the bills, couldn't even buy proper food for you." "Mom, it's not your fault." "Yes, it is. A mother should be able to take care of her children." "No, Mom, sometimes things get hard and we need help." "There's nothing wrong with that." Richard watched the conversation in silence, impressed by Emily's emotional maturity. "Jennifer," he finally said, "Emily told me you worked in finance." "I did. Now I'm good for nothing." "That's not true. I spoke to your former boss. He said you were excellent at your job." "Then why did they fire me?" "Because of the company's crisis, not because of you. He even said he'd give you a recommendation if you needed one." Jennifer looked at Richard in surprise. "You went to talk to my old boss?" "I did. And if you're willing, once you're better, I can get you a job at my company." "Why? You don't even know me." "Because I know your daughter, and anyone who raised a child like Emily must be someone very special." Jennifer looked at Emily again. "How did you manage to take care of Lily all by yourself?" "I learned from you, Mum. You taught me everything. But you're just a child, and you're my mother. That doesn't change just because you got sick." Dr. Robert, who had been observing the conversation, stepped in. "Jennifer, I want you to think about something. Your daughter doesn't see you as a failure. She sees you as a mother who got sick and needs help to get better. But I left them. You walked out during a severe depressive episode. You weren't in a state to make rational decisions. That doesn't mean you abandoned your daughters. Then what does it mean? It means you need treatment and support to be the mother you've always been again. What if I can't? You will, Emily said, taking her mother's hand. And until you can, I'll help. We'll do it together. Jennifer squeezed her daughter's hand. When did you get so wise? When you taught me that family means taking care of each other. The visit lasted another hour. Jennifer wanted to know every detail, how Emily had cared for Lily, where they were living, how they had survived. You collected cans? She asked, horrified. It was honest work, Mom, and Mr. Frank at the junkyard was always kind to me. My daughter picking through trash. Jennifer began blaming herself again. It wasn't trash, Mom. They were cans people threw away. I'd take them to the junkyard and trade them for milk for Lily. That's how we survived. You're 8 years old, Emily. So? Age doesn't matter when you need to take care of someone you love. Richard saw his own recent choices reflected in Emily's words. He too had stepped out of his comfort zone to care for people he loved. When they left the clinic, Emily was quieter than usual. How do you feel? Richard asked. Sad and happy at the same time. Why? Sad because my mom is suffering so much. Happy because she didn't leave, because she stopped loving us. Did you ever think she had stopped loving you? A little. I kept thinking, if she really loved us, she wouldn't have left. And now? Now I understand she left precisely because she loves us. She thought we'd be better off without her. And would you be? Of course not. Lily needs her mother, and I do too. Even after proving you can handle everything alone? Emily stopped walking. I don't want to have to handle everything alone. I want to be a daughter. I want my mother to take care of me too. Richard knelt in front of Emily. And she will. When she gets better, she'll be your mother again, and you'll get to be a child again. Do you promise? I promise I'll do everything in my power to make that happen. In the following weeks, Richard established a routine. Every afternoon after work at the office, he took Emily to visit Jennifer at the clinic. Lily stayed with Mrs. Dorothy, who had fallen in love with the baby. With each visit, Jennifer seemed a little better. The treatment was working, and knowing her daughters were safe gave her immense peace. Richard, she said during one visit, can I ask why you're doing all this? I've answered that question a few times. No, you always give vague answers. I want the truth. Richard looked at Emily, who was drawing in the corner of the room. The truth is, 3 years ago I lost my family, my wife and my little girl. Since then I've been on autopilot, not letting myself feel or care about anything. What happened to them? Car accident. I was driving. Jennifer stayed silent. Do you blame yourself? I did. I thought if I'd been more careful, more attentive. And now? Now I understand accidents happen. And staying stuck in guilt doesn't bring anyone back. What made you realize that? Richard looked at Emily again. Your daughter. She showed me that even when everything goes wrong, we can still choose to care for the people we love. She lost her home, her stability, you. But she kept taking care of Lily, kept doing what needed to be done. She's special. She is. And she's special because you raised her to be. I don't feel like a good mother. Good mothers get sick too, Jennifer. That doesn't make you less of a mother. Dr. Robert had explained to Richard that Jennifer's recovery would be gradual, and she'd need support even after leaving the clinic. She'll need psychological follow-up for a while, the doctor said. And most importantly, she'll need to feel useful again. How so? Her depression was tied to feeling incompetent, like a burden to her family. She needs to feel capable, productive again. Do you think she could work? Absolutely. In fact, working would be very good for her, as long as it's in a supportive environment, without excessive pressure. Richard had already thought about it. His company needed someone to reorganize the finance department, exactly Jennifer's expertise. Dr. Robert, if I offer her a job, could that be harmful in any way? On the contrary, it would be very beneficial. But she needs to know she's being hired on merit, not out of pity. And she would be hired on merit. I spoke to her former boss, reviewed her resume. She's genuinely skilled. When Richard told Jennifer about the job offer, she reacted with suspicion. You don't have to make up a job for me. I already accept that you're helping the girls. I'm not making it up. My company needs someone competent in finance. You're competent. How can you be sure? Because I checked. I talked to people who worked with you, saw your past results. You were really good at what you did. Were. Now I don't even know if I can do it anymore. There's only one way to find out. Emily, who had been listening to the conversation, moved closer to her mother. Mom, you've always been so good with numbers. Remember when you used to teach me math? You explained things in a way that made everything click. This is different, Emily. Working at a company is more complicated. But the basics are the same, right? Numbers are numbers. Jennifer smiled for the first time since Richard had met her. When did you get so smart? I've always been smart. You're the one who taught me. Dr. Roberts suggested Jennifer start working part-time, just a few hours a day, so she wouldn't feel overwhelmed. The idea is for her to gradually regain confidence, he explained to Richard. If she does well in the first few weeks, she can increase her workload. Richard agreed. He set up a desk for her in a quiet area of the office, near where the children stayed during the day. 2 weeks later, Jennifer was discharged from the clinic. The moment Jennifer was reunited with Lily was emotional. The baby, now 7 months old, didn't recognize her mother right away but slowly grew accustomed to her again. She's grown so much, Jennifer said, tears in her eyes. She's healthy, Emily said. She drinks her milk well, sleeps through the night, and has even taken a few steps. You took such good care of her. We took care of her, Emily corrected, glancing at Richard. He helped a lot. Jennifer's first day at the office was tense. She was nervous, unsure, afraid she wouldn't be able to handle the tasks. Richard assigned her to reorganize old financial spreadsheets, something that wasn't urgent but was still important. Jennifer, there's no pressure, he said. Take your time. If you have questions, just ask. What if I can't do it? You will. But if you don't manage today, try again tomorrow. For the first few hours, Jennifer worked slowly, double-checking every number. But little by little, her confidence returned. Richard, she called out near the end of the morning, I think I found some inconsistencies in the old reports. Richard walked over to her desk. What kind of inconsistencies? Some numbers don't add up. It looks like there were some posting errors. Richard examined the spreadsheets. Jennifer was right. These were mistakes that had gone unnoticed for months. Very sharp observation, he said. Can you calculate the total impact? I can try. 2 hours later, Jennifer had not only identified all the errors, but also calculated the financial impact and suggested corrections. This is exceptional work, Richard said. Really? Really? These mistakes could have caused serious problems if they hadn't been caught. Jennifer smiled, a small, genuine smile. Thank you for giving me this chance. Thank you for taking it. The company needs someone like you. Emily, who was playing with Lily in the children's corner, watched her mother work with pride. See, she said to Richard, I told you my mom was really smart. You were right. Now can we all stay together again? We'll talk about it tonight. That evening, in the apartment Richard had rented, the whole extended family gathered for dinner. Jennifer, Emily, Lily, and also Olivia, Ethan, and Madison, who had become part of the group. Jennifer, Richard said, we need to talk about next steps. What kind of next steps? You can't stay in this rented apartment forever. You need a real home. I don't make enough yet to rent a house. Not yet. But in a few months, when you're working full-time, you will. And until then? Richard took a deep breath. He'd thought a lot about this conversation. I have a proposal. My house is big. There are several empty rooms. You could stay there for a while until you get back on your feet financially. Jennifer was silent for a few seconds. Richard, you've already done so much for us. It's not a favor. It's a fair exchange. You live in the house, and in return, Emily keeps helping at the office. You work at the company, and I get to have a family again. Emily looked at Richard in surprise. You want us to be your family? If you're willing. But we're not even related. Family isn't just about blood, Emily. It's about taking care of each other. Jennifer glanced at the children, then at Richard. Are you sure about this? Absolutely. Even with 5 kids making a mess in your house, especially because of the 5 kids making a mess in my house. Emily stood up and walked over to Richard. Can I ask you something? Of course. If we're your family, will you be like a father to me? Richard felt his eyes well up. If you want me to. I do. I've always wanted a dad. That same week, Richard helped the family move into his home in the Upper East Side. It was a big house with a garden, a pool, and plenty of space for the kids to play. Wow, said Olivia when she saw the house. It's a castle. It's not a castle, Richard laughed, just a big house. To us, it's like a castle, said Ethan. Richard showed each of them their rooms. Emily and Lily would share a pink room overlooking the garden. Olivia and Madison would share another. Ethan would have a room all to himself. What about my mom? Asked Emily. Her room is right next to yours, said Richard, opening the door to a spacious room with a private bathroom. Jennifer stood frozen in the doorway, unable to step inside. This is too much, she said. It's what you deserve, Richard replied. I don't deserve all this. Yes, you do, said Emily, taking her mother's hand. You've worked so hard, suffered so much. Now you can rest a little. But I don't want to be a burden to him. You're not a burden, Mom. You're family. Adjusting to the new home was easier than Richard had expected. The kids settled into the routine quickly, and Jennifer, though still hesitant, began to feel more at ease. Richard hired a housekeeper to help with cleaning and a nanny to look after Lily while Jennifer was at work. You don't have to hire a nanny, Jennifer said. I can take Lily to the office. You could, but this way, you'll be able to focus better at work. And Lily will have more stimulation, playing with other kids at daycare. Daycare. The nanny works at a daycare nearby. Lily can stay there for a few hours a day. Jennifer still had moments of doubt, especially when she felt overwhelmed. Dr. Robert had warned that this was normal. Recovery isn't linear, he explained. She'll have good days and bad days. What matters is supporting her on the bad ones. One of those bad days came 3 weeks after the move. Jennifer woke up crying, saying she couldn't go to work. I'm useless, she kept saying. You're all better off without me. Emily, who had learned how to handle these moments, sat beside her mother on the bed. Mum, remember when I was little and had that high fever? I do. You stayed up for 3 days straight taking care of me. On the 3rd day, you were so exhausted you started crying, saying you didn't know what else to do. That's true. But you didn't give up. You kept taking care of me until I got better. This is different, Emily. No, it's not. You were sick that day, tired, out of strength. But you were still my mum. Today you're sick again, but you're still my mum. Jennifer looked at her daughter through her tears. When did you grow up so much? When you taught me that loving someone means never giving up, even when it's hard. Richard, who had been listening at the door, stepped forward. Jennifer, should I call Dr. Robert? No need, she said, drying her tears. I just need a few minutes. There's no rush. Work can wait. I don't want to miss work. And you won't. You'll just be a little late, that's all. An hour later, Jennifer was at the office, working as usual. Richard didn't comment on her tardiness, only asking if she was okay. Thank you, she said. For what? For understanding that I still have bad days. Everyone has bad days, Jennifer. You're no exception. But I feel like I need to be perfect to deserve everything you're doing for us. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be yourself. What if I'm not good enough as I am? Then you'd be the first person in the history of the world who isn't good enough, and I seriously doubt that. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now continuing. 2 months after the move, the family had settled into a comfortable rhythm. Jennifer was working full-time at the office and had become a key part of the company. Emily was attending a good private school, but still helped out at the office a few hours a week. The other children had also been enrolled in suitable schools, Olivia and Madison at the same school as Emily, Ethan at one near the house. Richard, Jennifer said one night after the children had gone to bed, I need to talk to you. Did something happen? Yes, I got a job offer. Richard felt his heart race. What kind of offer? A big financial firm, great salary, career growth. Is it a good opportunity? It's excellent, professionally speaking. But it would mean we'd have to move out of your house, go back to living on our own. Richard was silent for a few seconds. Do you want to take it? I don't know, I want your opinion. My opinion is that you should do what's best for you and your daughters. And what would that be? Only you can decide that. Jennifer sighed. A few months ago, I would have said yes immediately. Higher pay, independence, dignity. And now? Now I'm scared. Scared of what? Of failing. Of falling apart again. Of having no one to help me if things go wrong. Richard moved closer to her. Jennifer, you can do this. You've already proven that. And if things go wrong, you will have help. From who? Me, Emily, this whole family we've built. Even if I don't live here anymore. Family isn't about living in the same place. It's about being there when you're needed. So, you think I should take it? I think you should do what makes you happy. What if staying here makes me happy? Richard smiled. Then stay. Even if I earn less money? Money's important, but it's not everything. What if taking the job makes me happy, but I still want to live here? That's fine too. Even if I earn enough to rent my own place? Jennifer, this house is yours too. You're not here out of charity. You're here because you're family. Are you sure? Absolutely. Jennifer accepted the new job but chose to keep living in Richard's house. Her higher salary allowed her to contribute significantly to household expenses while still saving for her daughter's futures. Now I finally feel useful, she told Richard. You always were. But now I feel productive again, capable. And that matters to you? Very much. Spending months thinking I was worthless was awful. You were never worthless, you were just sick. I know, but knowing and feeling are two different things. Jennifer's new routine meant leaving home earlier and returning later. Richard adjusted his own schedule to spend more time with the children. You don't need to change your routine for us, said Jennifer. I'm not changing it for you. I'm changing it because I want to spend more time with the kids. Why? Because they make me happy. Because for 3 years I hadn't laughed the way I do now. Because they gave me back my will to live. Richard had indeed changed a lot since he met Emily at that restaurant. He smiled more, cared more about others, and had started making plans for the future again. Emily, he said one evening while helping her with homework. Do you know you're the one who changed my life? What do you mean? When you asked me for those cans, I was a sad, lonely person who didn't care about anything. And now I have a family, reasons to smile and plans. What kind of plans? Plans to build a school for underprivileged children. Plans to create a program at the company to help single mothers. Plans to be a better father to you all. You're already a good dad. I can be better. How? By learning more about you, understanding each of your dreams better, helping you achieve them. What's my dream? I don't know. What is it? Emily thought for a few seconds. My dream is for my mom to always be happy, and for you to always be happy too, and for Lily to grow up in a family full of love. What about your dreams for yourself? Oh, those are easy. I want to study hard, be really smart, and one day help other kids like you helped me. How do you want to help? I'm not sure yet. Maybe as a teacher, or a doctor, or by building homes for people who don't have one. Richard smiled. Emily's generosity knew no bounds. Whatever you choose, you'll be great at it. Really? Really, because your heart is as big as the world. 6 months later, the family received an unexpected visit. It was a social worker who had been informed about the children's situation. I received a report, she said. Someone claimed there are children here without proper legal status. Richard and Jennifer exchanged worried glances. What kind of issue? Asked Richard. Children without proper documentation, without a defined legal guardian. The social worker was referring to Olivia, Ethan, and Madison, who were technically still considered abandoned by the system, These children are being properly cared for, said Jennifer. I can see that. The issue is legal. They need an official guardian. What does that mean? Asked Emily, who was listening. It means you might have to go to a shelter, the social worker replied gently. Separated? Asked Olivia, frightened. Possibly. Richard stood up. That's not going to happen. Mr. Walker, I understand your intention, but the law is clear. Then let's handle it legally. What needs to be done for me to become their legal guardian? You want to adopt 3 children? If that's what it takes to keep them together and safe, yes. The social worker looked at him in surprise. Do you understand adoption is a lifelong commitment? I do, and that's exactly what I want. And you? She asked Jennifer. What's your position on this? These children are family. Wherever they are, I'll be too. Even though they're not your biological daughters? Family isn't just about blood, Jennifer replied, echoing the words Richard had said months earlier. The adoption process was more complex than Richard expected. There were months of interviews, psychological evaluations, home visits, and paperwork. During that time, there were moments of tension. Olivia's family, who had disappeared months earlier, reappeared wanting her back. Where were you when she needed you? Richard asked Olivia's relatives. We went through hard times, said the girl's aunt, but now we're doing better. And you think you can just show up and take her away? She's our family. Olivia, who had been hiding behind Emily during this conversation, stepped forward. I don't want to go, she said softly. What did you say, sweetheart? Asked the aunt. I don't want to go with you. I want to stay here. But we're your real family. No, you're not, Olivia said more firmly. Real family doesn't abandon you. Real family always takes care of you. The matter had to be settled in court. At the hearing, Olivia had to speak to the judge about what she wanted. Olivia, the judge said gently, do you understand that these people are your blood relatives? I do. And even so, you'd rather stay with Richard and Jennifer? Yes? Why? Because they took care of me when I needed it. Because they took me to the doctor when I was sick. Because they put me in school. Because they never made me feel like I was a burden. And your relatives? Didn't they do those things? They abandoned me when I needed them most. The judge considered Olivia's testimony, the reports from the social workers assigned to the case, and the conditions provided by each family. It's clear the child is well cared for in her current situation, he said, and considering she has expressed her preference clearly and that her current guardians are fully capable of providing for her, I grant custody of the minor to Mr. Richard Walker. Olivia smiled for the first time in weeks. Similar cases happened with Ethan and Madison, but in both instances the biological families did not contest the adoption, recognizing the children were better off where they were. 2 years after the day Emily asked for cans at the restaurant, Richard finalized the adoption of all 3 children. Jennifer, who had become his partner in every sense, also legally adopted Olivia, Ethan, and Madison. Now we're officially a family, Richard said the day the papers were signed. We've been family for a long time, Emily replied. Now it's just official. The family's life had settled completely. Jennifer thrived in her new job and had been promoted twice. Richard expanded his business and created a social responsibility program to help vulnerable families. Emily, now 10, remained the mature and responsible child she'd always been, but she had also learned to just be a kid when she wanted. She attended an excellent school and had outstanding grades. Lily, now 2.5, was a happy, healthy child who called Richard Daddy and Jennifer Mommy with equal affection. Olivia, Ethan, and Madison had fully integrated into the family and their new life. Richard, Jennifer said one evening as they watched the children playing in the yard. Sometimes I wake up thinking this is all a dream. Why? Because it feels too good to be true. 2 years ago, I was lost, directionless, thinking my daughters would be better off without me. Now I have a job I love, a big happy family, a beautiful home, and you deserve all of it. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if Emily hadn't had the courage to ask you for those cans. I wonder that too, Richard said. I think I would have kept living on autopilot until I just couldn't anymore. And the girls? The girls would have been separated, sent to different shelters, lost contact with each other. It's scary to think about. It is. But it's also amazing how one small act can change everything. Emily asking for cans. Not just that. You having the courage to accept help. Me having the courage to offer it. Every little decision that led us here. Do you regret anything? Richard thought for a few seconds. I regret taking 3 years to start truly living again, but I don't regret anything that's happened since I met all of you. Even with all the chaos, all the responsibility, all the challenges. Especially because of that. You gave me back my purpose. What purpose? Taking care of the people I love. Making a difference in others' lives. Building something meaningful. That night, after all the children had gone to bed, Richard went up to the attic of the house, where he kept some old belongings. He searched for a specific box, one he hadn't opened in 3 years. Inside were photos of Grace and Catherine, his first family. For 3 years, looking at those pictures had been too painful. But now, he could see them with gratitude, instead of just sadness. Grace, he said, speaking to his daughter's photo, you would have liked Emily. She has your determination, your intelligence, and Lily has your curious eyes. He picked up a photo of Grace smiling, wearing the blue hospital bracelet. You two taught me what it means to love a family. Now they've shown me it's possible to love again, differently, but just as deeply. Richard came down from the attic, carrying a few photos. In the bedroom, he showed them to Jennifer. This was my first family, he said. Jennifer looked at the photos tenderly. They were beautiful. They were. And they'll always be a part of me. But now you all are too. Is it betrayal to love again? No, I think it's honoring the love they taught me. Richard placed one of the photos on the bedroom shelf, alongside recent pictures of their current family. Now they're part of our story too, he said. The next day, Richard gathered all the children in the living room. I want to talk to you about something important, he said. Did something happen? Asked Emily, always concerned. Nothing bad. I just want you to know I had a family before you. Richard told Grace and Catherine's story in a way suited to the children's ages, explaining that sometimes the people we love have to leave, but that doesn't make the love any less. Were they sad when we came to live with Daddy? Asked Lily with childlike curiosity. No, Lily. They were happy. Because they know you make me happy. How do you know? Asked Ethan. Because when you truly love someone, you want them to be happy, even if you can't be together. Like my mom, Emily said thoughtfully. She left because she thought we'd be happier without her. Exactly. But your mum was wrong. You needed her. And did you need us? Richard smiled. More than you can imagine. Olivia, who had been quiet during the conversation, moved closer to Richard. Uncle Richard, can I ask you something? Of course. If Grace and Catherine came back, would you stop loving us? Richard knelt to meet Olivia's height. Olivia, the heart has no limit to love. If they came back, I'd still love you just the same. Love doesn't shrink when it's shared. It grows. So we can love lots of people at the same time as you can, and you should. So I can love you and also love my real parents, even though they left me. You can. Love isn't about deserving. It's about feeling. That conversation marked an important moment for the family. The children understood they could honor their past without diminishing their love for their present family. Months later, Richard made a decision that surprised everyone. He proposed to Jennifer. Jennifer, he said, kneeling in the garden in front of all the children, will you marry me? Richard, she began, visibly moved. I know we're already a family, but I want it to be official. I want the whole world to know you're the most important people in my life. What about me? Emily shouted. Can I be the godmother? All of you will be godmothers, Richard laughed. Even me? Asked Lily. Especially you. Jennifer looked around at the children's eager faces, then turned to Richard. Yes, she said. I accept. The wedding was simple but heartfelt. It took place in their own backyard, with just family and a few close friends. Emily was the one who handed over the rings. Lily scattered flower petals along the path. Olivia, Ethan, and Madison were the attendants. "Richard," Jennifer said during the vows, "you gave me back my faith in myself, hope for the future, and the family I always dreamed of." "Jennifer," Richard replied, "you and your daughters saved me from an empty life and taught me it's never too late to start over." After the ceremony, as everyone enjoyed cake in the garden, Emily approached Richard. "Can I tell you something?" she asked. "Always. Remember the day I asked you for the cans? How could I forget? That day I just wanted milk for Lily. I never imagined I'd get a dad." Richard felt his eyes well up. "And I never imagined I'd get 5 amazing daughters." "6, Lily corrected, running up to them. "How 6? "Me, Emily, Olivia, Madison, and the 2 girls who were with you before," Lily said, pointing to the photo of Grace and Catherine that Richard had placed on a special table during the ceremony. Richard hugged Lily and Emily at once. "You're right," he said. 6 amazing daughters." The celebration lasted late into the night. The children ran around the garden, the adults talked about future plans, and the whole neighborhood could hear the laughter coming from that house. "Richard," said Mr. Frank, the junkyard owner who'd been invited to the wedding, "remember the first time you came to my shop, asking about Emily?" "I do. That day I told you she was a special girl, but I had no idea just how special." "Why?" "Because she didn't just save her family. She saved you too." Richard looked around at his new family celebrating. "It's true," he said. "She saved all of us." 2 years after the wedding, the family received news that would change their lives once again. Jennifer was pregnant. "What do you mean pregnant?" asked Emily, now 12 and sharper than ever. "It means you're getting another little brother or sister," Richard explained. "Really?" all the children shouted at once. "Really?" Jennifer confirmed, smiling. "Will it be a boy or a girl?" asked Olivia. "We don't know yet. When will the baby come?" asked Ethan. "In 6 months. Lily, now 4, asked the most important question. "Will the baby like us?" "The baby will love you," Richard said, "just like you love each other." During Jennifer's pregnancy, the whole family helped with preparations. Emily helped pick out baby clothes. Olivia and Madison decorated the nursery. Ethan drew pictures to hang on the wall. Lily chose the toys. "What will we name the baby?" asked Madison. "You can all make suggestions," Jennifer said. "If it's a girl, it could be Grace," Emily suggested, "in honor of the sister we never got to meet." Richard was moved by the idea. "And if it's a boy?" he asked. "Michael," said Lily, "like the guardian angel." "Why Michael?" "Because an angel brought you 2 to our family." Richard and Jennifer exchanged a glance. Their children's wisdom never ceased to amaze them. "Grace or Michael," Richard said. "Perfect." The baby was born on a September morning after a smooth delivery. It was a girl, and they named her Grace, just as Emily had suggested. "She looks just like Lily when she was a baby," Emily said, cradling her little sister. "You're all beautiful," Richard said, looking at his 6 daughters. 7, Jennifer corrected, pointing once more to the photo of the first Grace. 7, agreed Richard. 7 wonderful daughters. Little Grace grew up surrounded by love and care from the whole family. Emily, now a responsible teenager, helped take care of her like a second mother. The other children also had their roles. Olivia sang the baby to sleep, Ethan made up games, Madison drew stories for her, Lily shared her toys. "It's amazing how much you all love each other," commented Dr. Robert during a social visit he made from time to follow the family's progress. "Why is it amazing?" asked Jennifer. "Because not all of you are biological siblings. You came from very different situations, various ages. Statistically, there should be more conflict." "So, what's the secret?" asked Richard. "I think it's because you taught them that family is a choice, not an obligation. They love each other because they want to, not because they have to." Dr. Robert was right. The family had become an example in the community of how love can overcome any adversity. Richard expanded his social responsibility program even further. Now his company ran a daycare for employees' children, a scholarship program for underprivileged kids, and a fund to support single mothers. "Why do you do all this?" asked a journalist doing a story on the company. "Because I've learned that when you're blessed, you have a responsibility to bless others too." "Who taught you that?" Richard looked at Emily, who was organizing some papers at her desk in the office. Now 15, she worked part-time at the company during school breaks, always insisting on being paid fairly for her work. "An 8-year-old girl who asked me for cans on a sidewalk," he answered. "What do you mean?" Richard told the whole story. The journalist was fascinated. "Can I interview that girl? You can ask if she's willing to talk to you." Emily agreed to the interview. "Emily," the journalist asked, "how did you feel that day when you asked Richard for the cans?" Afraid and hopeful at the same time. Afraid of what? Afraid he'd say no, that Lily would stay hungry, that I wouldn't be able to take care of her. And hopeful for what? Hopeful that someone would understand I wasn't asking for a handout, I was working. Working? Yes. I offered something in return. The cans had value. I knew where to trade them for milk. It was a fair transaction. But you were just a child. Age doesn't change the fact that all work has dignity. Who taught you that? My mother. Even when she was sick, even when she thought she was worthless, she always taught me that honest work is never humiliating. And now, how do you see that day? As the day that changed our lives. But not just because we gained a new family, because we learned that asking for help isn't weakness and giving help isn't a favor. How so? When you ask for help the right way, you're giving someone else the chance to be better. And when you help the right way, you're creating a partnership, not dependence. The journalist was struck by Emily's maturity. "What do you want to be when you grow up?" "I want to build a place where children who've lost their families can stay together while waiting to be adopted. A place where siblings aren't separated." "Why is that important to you?" "Because I know how terrifying it is to think you might lose the people you love. If I'd been separated from Lily, I don't think I'd ever have recovered." "And do your plans include Richard?" "Of course. He's going to help me build that place. And when it's ready, we'll take care of the kids together." "Does he know about these plans?" "We talk about it all the time. He says when I'm ready, he'll be ready too." The interview was published in a national magazine and caused a huge stir. Richard began receiving calls from people wanting to help with Emily's project. "Emily," he said one evening, "I think your dream might come true sooner than we imagined." "Why?" "Because so many people want to help. Business owners, NGOs, even politicians have reached out." "Really? Really? How about we start drafting an official plan?" Emily smiled. It was the same determined smile she had at 8 years old when she collected cans on the street. "Let's get started." End of story. Now, tell us what you thought of this story. Do you believe small gestures can truly change lives? Have you experienced or witnessed moments where kindness made all the difference? Share your thoughts in the comments. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss other inspiring stories that show the transformative power of love and generosity. Thank you for being here.